Happy Nindie New Year, citizens! I'm Jeff, and today we're kicking off 2023 with Nindie Nation episode 171. There's only a few new releases worth checking out this week, but if you haven't looked at the rest of this month's lineup, consider this episode the calm before the storm. Sound off in the comments with any games that tickle your fancy, and maybe we'll check them out this Thursday on Nindies at Night. In the meantime, if you're a cool person who likes chatting with other cool people, stop by the Nindie Nation Discord. And now, citizens, let's do this thing. These are the 5 new notable Nindies hitting the Nintendo Switch through Sunday, January 8th. On Monday, January 2nd, we see a clone of Atari's Lunar Lander as Gravity Thrust releases from Spracklesoft for $4.99. Now, it is a clone, but it doesn't look like a bad clone, and it is a clone of a great classic arcade game. You pilot a ship, avoid the walls, pick up the things, and take the things to the goal. There's a couple of multiplayer modes thrown in which could add some replay value, but for the most part, this one's probably only going to appeal to fans of the Atari Classic. If you're on the fence, though, there's a demo available to download. On Wednesday the 4th, Nindie newcomer Algo Rocks delivers one of those games that I'd imagine a very small group of players will just fall in love with. But there's one big catch. Grammarian Limited is an adventure game cut from the same cloth as Papers, Please, where a story is being told on a much grander scale and your role is fairly small and quite original. In the year 2099, it is a crime to use poor grammar.
Meaning the vast majority of the internet has apparently vanished.
And your job is to identify the worst offenders by searching through all kinds of communications. Your efforts as a literal grammar cop change the outcome of what looks like an interesting story that takes itself far too seriously, but in a good way. The game flows between story, a brief, entertaining grammar lesson, and the core gameplay where you sort through documents to find examples of the poor grammar you were just taught about. It's one of those educational games that seems like it could be surprisingly fun. The thing is, what I warned about earlier, is that based on the trailers, it looks like this game is designed specifically for mouse controls, and if you're watching the video right now, you probably see what I mean. Given the type of game, though, it's probably more of an inconvenience than it is detrimental to the game itself. If you've been accused of being the grammar police in your own life, this should be right up your alley, as Grammarian Limited launches for $9.99. After falling down an internet rabbit hole researching Hong Kong-based mobile developer Forfats, I'm looking forward to giving more of their games a shot. Their games and art style are very similar to The Behemoth, who you may know from games like Castle Crashers, focusing on simple, fun, arcade-style games that can be played with friends, and they've only recently started porting their games to the Switch. They continue that trend on January 5th with Maximus 2 for $4.99. It's a quirky beat-em-up that supports 4 players through local or online play and includes 6 playable characters with their own skill sets, like a tank, a healer, and a warrior. It'll only take you an hour or two to reach the end, but for only $5 or less if you wait for a sale, it seems like a quick, fun romp through a cartoony fantasy world. Imagine, if you will, that you're a huge fan of sci-fi, and you and your spouse are about to kick off a Halo-inspired series of indie games. Now imagine that in just a couple of months, you adopt a child and lose both your jobs at said developer, all in the days leading up to the start of COVID. That is where the story of Austin-based Black Hive Studios Alpha Link begins. After releasing for Xbox in 2021, this multiplayer platform arena shooter comes to the Switch on January 5th with cross-platform support in tow for $14.99. Think of it as something like Towerfall or Killer Queen, while also serving as the jumping-off point for what is planned to be an epic sci-fi universe. Beyond the gameplay itself, there's a hub world where you can interact with other players and NPCs, as well as an experience system, so there's a sense of progression that ties the various rounds of combat together. It's only received a couple of reviews, but they're mostly pretty positive and appreciate the added lore and world building alongside fun, challenging matches. Personally, I think $15 is a bit steep for something that relies so heavily on other players, but I'm gonna throw it on my wish list and hope that the combination of cross-platform support and future single-player content make Alpha Link something to pick up, once it's a bit closer to $10. We wrap up this slimmer than usual first week of 2023 with Rattlelake Games, who releases Neon Souls on Friday the 6th for $4.99. Developed by Pickles Entertainment, this is a parkour platformer where, besides obstacles and enemies, the world itself is completely invisible. Your character, though, sprays neon ink everywhere as you run, jump, and slide, which reveals the traversable platforms, giving it a psychedelic look that I bet looks amazing on the OLED Switch. I've often said that I appreciate Rattlelake's focus on cheap games that can keep you busy for a weekend, and it looks like that's exactly what they've done here again with Neon Souls. Don't worry, citizens. While there's only a few games worth considering this week, we've got a jam-packed January with a bunch of great new games and videos, including our 2022 Game of the Year list. So be sure to subscribe and let me know down in the comments if there's anything you're planning to pick up. Next week, we've got an ominous point-and-click adventure called Children of Silent Town, a 16-bit platformer called Vengeful Guardian that looks sick, and Lone Ruin, a twin-stick trifecta that I'm not supposed to tell you I've been in love with for weeks, but I'm rolling the dice on embargo since hardly anyone sticks around for these ending segments anyways. For those who have, thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing Nindie Nation with others. And thanks for all your support in the years past. Here's to a great 2023. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 171. And remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.